Welcome to today's Explainer. So today we're doing something a little bit different. We're entirely reframing how you think about your household kitchen. I mean, most of us look at the kitchen and just see this endless series of daily chores, right? Cooking, cleaning, shopping, rinse and repeat. But what if we looked at it differently? What if we saw it as a serious, high-stakes logistics operation? Literally a mini supply chain running in your home every single week. Now, for decades, we've been trying to manage the supply chain completely manually, and honestly, it's exhausting. But today, we're exploring how AI agents, powered by a breakthrough called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP, are finally ready to step in and manage this entire operation for us.
To really grasp why this tech is an absolute game changer, we have to look at the staggering hidden tax of our current broken system, and that is food waste. According to data from the Irish EPA, Irish households alone throw away about 120 kilograms of food per year. To put that into perspective, that costs the average family roughly €700 annually. It's just a massive financial drain, not to mention the heavy environmental impact. And you know what the worst part is? Most of this waste isn't even intentional. It's just food that gets pushed to the back of the fridge, or ingredients we buy twice by mistake, or stuff that expires and turns into that mysterious weird liquid at the back of the crisper drawer simply because we forgot it was even there.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because the very first thing we need to do today is relieve some guilt. If you are throwing away food, it is absolutely not a failure of personal discipline. It's not because you don't care about the environment or your grocery budget. All that conventional advice we hear, just plan your meals, check your pantry, make a neat little list. It sounds perfectly reasonable in theory. But in the reality of a busy week, doing all that manual reconciliation is practically impossible. So take a breath. We aren't failing. Our systems are failing us.
The truth is, household food waste is actually a data pipeline problem. Think about it. Your inventory, your recipes, and your shopping lists live in completely isolated silos. They literally do not talk to each other. So by the time you're standing there in the grocery aisle trying to make a split-second decision about what to buy, your mental view of your fridge is already out of date. That gap between what you think you have and what you actually have, that's exactly where food waste grows.
So that brings us to Section 1, the stale data problem and why traditional kitchen organization fails.
We've all tried it, right? Downloading some shiny new app or setting up a fresh spreadsheet to get super organized, but it always just falls apart. The core issue here is something we can call the drift effect. You might have your inventory neatly in a spreadsheet, your recipes saved in web bookmarks, and your shopping list tucked away in a notes app on your phone. But because these tools are totally disconnected, they instantly start to drift. When you cook a meal from those bookmarks, it doesn't magically reach out and deduct those exact ingredients from your spreadsheet. Very quickly, your data becomes untrustworthy. You stop relying on the system, you go back to guessing, and boom, your food waste climbs right back up.
The final nail in the coffin for traditional pantry trackers is what we call the ingestion bottleneck. Just picture coming home exhausted with 6 heavy bags of groceries. Are you really going to open an app and manually type chicken breast 1.2 kilograms 12 separate times? No way! The friction is just way too high relative to the payoff. Getting data into the system is actually harder than keeping it organized. Manual data entry is the exact point where these tools completely break down.
Moving right along to Section 2, enter Agentic App Control, which finally spells the end of the ingestion bottleneck.
So what if you just didn't have to do the data entry at all? This brings us to a massive technological leap, Agentic App Control. Let's define this really quickly. Agentic App Control means we are moving way beyond your standard chatbot. This isn't about an AI just spitting out a recipe idea in a block of text. It is about a true AI assistant that can actually do useful, structured work inside a product on your behalf. It can read your real pantry database, check those expiry dates, and write directly to your actual shopping list, all while perfectly respecting the safety boundaries and guardrails of the app itself.
And this brilliantly illustrates the shift we're talking about. On one hand, you have traditional AI. You ask it a question, you get an answer, but then you still have to go do all the manual labor of actually updating your lists. On the other hand, Agentic App Control takes the action for you. With platforms like Ration, which fully integrate MCP, the AI actually delegates and executes the work. It takes a fleeting thought like, I should check what we have, and turns it into a 10-second interaction where the AI does all the checking and updating for you.
Let's look at how this plays out in reality. When you say, what's expiring soon, this new agentic copilot doesn't just take a wild guess. It triggers a background tool to query your actual cargo, that's your live pantry inventory, by its specific expiry window.
If you ask what meals match my pantry, it runs a complex matching tool in your Galley, your recipe library, against your live stock. You just use totally natural human language, and the AI triggers precise, structured API calls to your database behind the scenes.
Section 3. Closing the kitchen loop. Turning the home into an orbital supply chain.
Now that we actually have AI agents that can read and write to our kitchen databases, we can finally do what humans have struggled to do manually for years. We can close the loop. Here is exactly why this matters. The Ration loop connects these 4 isolated silos we talked about. Your cargo is what you have, Galley is what you can make, Manifest is your plan for the week, and Supply is the exact missing delta of what you need to buy. Because an AI agent can seamlessly operate across all these modules using MCP, it massively reduces context switching. And best of all, when you mark a meal as cooked on your manifest, those specific ingredients are automatically deducted from your cargo. The entire loop stays perfectly synced.
Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how we deal with messy human behavior. See, you might log an item as tinned tomatoes, but a recipe might call for canned tomato. If you just search for tomato, a rigid, standard keyword database might completely fail to connect them. If this kitchen loop requires perfect, rigid data entry from us messy humans, it will inevitably break. To make a truly autonomous kitchen work, the AI has to understand what we mean, not just exactly what we type.
And this gets solved beautifully using semantic pantry search, which is powered by text embeddings and tools like Cloudflare Vectorize. So if a recipe calls for cooked rice, but your pantry holds basmati rice or tilde rice, the AI actually understands they are functionally the exact same thing. It maps the underlying meaning of the words. This provides an absolutely incredible benefit. You're completely saved from administration hell. You don't have to manage a million exact aliases, and the system easily tolerates the natural, kind of noisy way we actually track our food in real life.
Because the AI actually understands semantics and has access to these structured tools, it acts as a true logistics manager, compounding these tasks together. In a single, conversational prompt, you can ask your agent to rescue expiring food, plan 3 dinners based on that food, and then write out the shopping list. The agent triggers a tool to get expiring items, chains it instantly into matching meals, adds those to your meal plan, and then finally runs a supply sync to add only the missing ingredients to your list. It's a complex logistical puzzle solved in literal seconds.
Which brings us to Section 4. A zero-waste future and reshaping household management.
This brings us to the overarching philosophy of this whole explainer. We are moving toward a zero-waste future, not by forcing humans to somehow be more disciplined, but by letting intelligent systems handle the friction for us. Take, for example, this wild concept of agent-first onboarding. With traditional apps, you have to sign up, configure all your settings, and do all the initial heavy lifting. But with MCP, your AI agent, like Claude or Cursor, can actually discover the app, self-register, securely get an API key, and start populating your kitchen inventory right from your digital receipts, all before you even create an account. You simply claim ownership of this fully functional data-rich kitchen later on. The AI literally provisions the whole system for you.
Let's summarize the practical impact we should take away from all this. By fixing that fundamental stale data problem, we drastically lower the coordination tax on you. Because your data is perfectly synced, you're making fewer duplicate purchases at the store. Those expiring items hidden way in the back of the fridge, they're automatically flagged and routed straight into your meal plan while they are still perfectly good to eat. And when you finally go shop, you are only buying the exact missing delta. Nothing more, nothing less. What we are witnessing here is a permanent shift from apps you have to manage to systems that manage themselves. Agentic app control changes our baseline expectations forever. We no longer have to choose between a beautiful user interface and a capable autonomous assistant. The AI just lives seamlessly within the system, using the exact same domain logic and the exact same data, ensuring that the heavy burden of organization is finally lifted right off your shoulders.
So, the crucial point is this. If MCP and Agentic App Control can seamlessly connect your disconnected data silos to completely eliminate a $700 a year food waste problem, well, this is really just the beginning. The kitchen is merely the first testing ground for household logistics. If an AI agent can reliably solve the complex, high-friction supply chain of your kitchen, what part of your daily life will it run next?